extraction of metals. Already in previous classes we learned about metals, non-metals. But according to chemistry, metal is an element which has one electron or two electrons in the outermost orbit. For example, if you take the case of first group elements, what are first group elements? Hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium and strontium. Okay, let us keep this strontium aside because it is radioactive in nature. If you take the case of hydrogen, hydrogen is a gas. Leave hydrogen also, this is not a metal. Coming to lithium, lithium's atomic number is 3. So it has, this is the nucleus of lithium where there are 3 protons, 4 neutrons and 3 electrons are present outside the nucleus. 2 electrons in the first orbit and 1 electron in the second orbit. So if 1 electron is there in the last orbit, then it is a metal. If 2 electrons are there, even that is a metal. If you take the case of sodium, sodium's atomic number is 11. So this is the nucleus of sodium where there are 11 protons and 12 neutrons. The first orbit there are 2 electrons. Second orbit there are 8 electrons. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there is only 1 electron in the outermost orbit. So sodium is also a metal. In fact, sodium is a better metal than lithium. What is this better metal than lithium? If we take the atomic radius into account, sodium is larger. This is the atomic radius. Atomic radius already we learned. That is the distance between the nucleus and the outermost orbit. And this is the distance between nucleus and outermost orbit. This distance is less and this distance is more. So if the distance is more, in the nucleus we know that protons are present and these protons are positively charged. So they attract these negatively charged electrons. As the distance increases, the nuclear attraction on the outermost electron is less. As the attraction is less, easily it can lose electron. The tendency to lose electron is only called as metallic nature. Metallic character is nothing but the tendency to lose electron. So sodium can easily lose electron when you compare to lithium. Same is the case with potassium. In sodium there are 3 orbits, 1, 2, 3. Whereas in potassium's atomic number is 19. So there are 4 orbits. So the nuclear attraction on the last electron, that is outermost electron, is very less. So potassium can easily lose electrons. So potassium is a better metal than sodium. And sodium is a better metal than lithium. Same is the case with rubidium and cesium. So strontium has weakest metallic property, after that cesium, after that rubidium, after that potassium, sodium, lithium, like that. But hydrogen is however not a metal, it is a gas. Now coming to second group elements. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, radium. Here also we need this radium because radium is radioactive element. Beryllium, its atomic number is 4. Magnesium 12, calcium 20. So beryllium, if you take 4 electrons are there. So this is the nucleus of beryllium where there are 4 protons and 5 neutrons. And 4 electrons are outside the nucleus. 2 electrons in the first orbit and 2 electrons in the second orbit. So 2 electrons are there. So beryllium is a metal. It can lose these 2 electrons. But however, due to the small size, this is the atomic radius or atomic size of beryllium. This is small. So easily it cannot lose electrons. Coming to magnesium, magnesium's atomic number is 12. So this is the nucleus of magnesium where there are 12 protons and 12 neutrons. The first orbit there are 2 electrons. Second orbit there are 8 electrons. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And how many are left? 2 electrons in the last orbit. So this is the atomic radius. Comparing to beryllium, magnesium has larger size, larger atomic radius. So comparing to beryllium, magnesium can easily lose electrons because protons attraction over the Magnesium is not a good metal. Sodium is a better metal than magnesium because there are 3 orbits in sodium as well as in magnesium. There are 3 orbits. But here it has to lose 2 electrons, whereas sodium has to lose only 1 electron. Losing 1 electron is easier than losing 2 electrons. That's why sodium is a very good metal. That's why sodium is highly reactive. Now coming to the next group. Next group is not D block elements. After D block elements, we have 3A group elements. Boron, aluminum family. Now coming to boron. Boron's atomic number is 5. Whereas aluminum's atomic number is 30. Already in 8th class we learned that aluminum is a metal. But chemistry definition, aluminum is a metalloid. What is a metalloid? Metalloid is an element whose atoms contain 3 electrons or 4 electrons in the last orbit. Aluminum has 3 electrons in the outermost orbit. First orbit there are 2, second orbit there are 8, third orbit there are 3, 2, 8, 3. This is the distribution of electrons. So if 3 electrons are there in the last orbit, then it is a metalloid. But however in energy, we consider aluminum as a metal because we use aluminum extensively in our day-to-day life. Many articles are made up of aluminum. Even these cables, electric cables are also made up of aluminum. Aircrafts are made up of aluminum because it is a light metal. Stop. That is called as metallurgy. So metallurgy involves all these principles of extraction of metals from these compounds. These compounds of metals are called as minerals. Minerals are the compound forms of metals. So these compound forms are all called as minerals. Mineral is one metal and one non-metal. Together it is called as a mineral. So we have to decode these minerals, and from those minerals we have to take metals. But the thing is, from every mineral you cannot extract metal in a profitable way. For example, if I decode one mineral, suppose I decode some 100 kgs, but generally they are not dug out in 100 kgs, hundreds of kgs. They are dug out in thousands and lakhs of kgs. I am just giving one example. Suppose you dig out 100 kgs of any mineral from Earth's crust, and from those 100 kgs, if you get just 10 grams of a metal, is it profitable? 100 kgs you dig out and you get only 10 grams, remaining all waste impurities. So by selling of these 10 grams, you cannot make any profit. So this is not profitable. Then that compound form of metal is called as just a mineral. But there are few minerals from which you can extract the metal in a commercial way, profitable way. For example, there are, suppose this is one mineral X, from which out of 100 kgs you could get only 10 grams. So there is one more mineral, like that also you dig out from Earth's crust. There is no other source for getting metals. Suppose you dig out 100 kgs and you get some 20 kgs of metal. Remaining 80 kgs however impurities. So by selling this 20 kgs you can make enough profit. So this is profitable of extraction of way of extraction of metals. So which is better to use, X or Y? It is always profitable for us to use mineral Y. Then this mineral Y is not just called as a mineral, it is called as a ore. This is a ore of a metal. So ore is also a mineral, but from which you can extract a metal in a commercial way or profitable way. Whereas mineral is just a compound state of metal from which you cannot get a metal in a profitable way. So this is just a mineral. In this also there is metal, but it is not profitable. In ore, metal is present in a larger quantity and we can make profit by extracting that metal. So this is about many ores. Now, for each metal there are specific ores. In periodic table, if you remember, 16th group elements are called as chalcogens. That time we learned chalcogens are nothing but ore producers. They are ore producers. 16th group of main elements, first two elements, oxygen and Why they are called as ore producers? Already in previous class we learned that metals combine with non-metals to form compounds. Those compounds are called as minerals, and from those minerals where we can extract metals in a commercial or profitable way, such minerals are called as ores. So metals combine with oxygen or sulfur to form ores. That's why these elements are called as ore producers. For example, iron oxide Fe2O3. This is called as hematite. So if you observe, this ore contains oxygen. Iron is a metal, oxygen is a non-metal. Iron combines with oxygen to form hematite. Of course, iron combines with oxygen in another way also. Fe3O4, this is magnetite. These two are ores of iron. That means we have to dig out these ores from Earth's crust. And by separating oxygen, you can get iron in a commercial way, profitable way we can get iron. That's why these are ores. So if you observe these ores, there is oxygen. And there are other ores also in which sulfur is present. For example, cinnamon. HGS, mercuric sulfide is called as cinnamon. This is an ore of mercury. Mercuric sulfide is cinnamon. Galena is another ore. Okay, it contains lead sulfide. PbS is called as cinnamon. So these two are sulfide ores. Cinnabar is sulfide ore of mercury and galena is sulfide ore of lead. And hematite and magnetite, these are oxide ores of iron. If oxygen is there, it is called as oxide ore. If sulfur is there, it is called as sulfide ore. That's why chalcogens are ore producers. So what we have to do is, we have to dig out these ores from the Earth's crust. After digging out these ores, we don't get these ores in a pure form. They contain many impurities. Impurities is when we dig out from Earth's crust, however mud will be there. So we have to first get rid of all those impurities. So what we have to do, if there are impurities in our rice, what do we do? If stones are mixed with rice, so what we do? We pick up stones and throw it out using our hands. So that is hand picking. We do it in our day-to-day life. Same thing we employ in metallurgy also. So there are 4 techniques to first remove unwanted impurities from ores. That process is called as dressing of the ore. That is dressing of the ore or concentration of the ore. Concentration of the ore and dressing is one in the same. So there are 4 techniques which we use to remove physical impurities from the ore. Still it remains as ore only, it is not metal. For getting metal there is another technique, that is extraction of metals. Today let us discuss only about the physical removal of physical impurities of the metal. So this is a physical technique. So in this again there are 4 sub-techniques. First one is hand picking. In this hand picking, so what we do is, we dig out ore from the Earth's crust and by making use of color difference. For example, gold is there or copper is there. Copper ores are red in color, golden color. Iron also reddish brown. So by making use of the color difference, we pick up ore pieces from the thing which is dug out from the Earth's crust. So we pick up all these ore pieces and put it as a separate heap. That is called as hand picking. Second technique. So we know that in rice there is dust or mud. What do? We wash. Vegetables we wash, rice we wash, many things eatables we wash in our day-to-day life. In the same way, we have to wash ores also to get rid of impurities. That is called as washing. But in our houses, if we want to wash rice, we take rice in a vessel. We we do is we take an inclined plane, that is slopey surface. This is a slopey surface. We crush the ore into large pieces, not fine powder, and put the ore pieces on this slopey surface. And we have to pass water. For washing, however, we use water. So here you have to pass water at a moderate rate, not with high speed. If water is passed with high speed, then water means including this. Along with mud, these ore pieces also get washed away. They all fall down. So it's of no use. If you pass water at a very slow rate, then even mud particles will not get rid of this ore pieces. So you have to pass water at a moderate speed. Then the mud and all mud, dust, whatever is clinging to the ore pieces, they alone get washed away. They get washed away and your ore pieces will be left like that. So this is how you have to wash out mud and dust from the ore. This is second technique. Now coming to third technique, that is froth flotation. You might have seen people learning swimming. I don't know swimming. Suppose if I jump into water tanks, I get drowned. We all get drowned. So in order to avoid that, what do? We take a hollow thing or tube or anything and we wear it against around our waist. And it is very hollow. So if you jump into water also, you will not get drowned into water. You float on water. Because it is lightweight. Lightweight means its density is very less. Already we discussed about density and other concepts last year. So lighter particles always float on water. Heavy particles go deep into water. So sulfur, already we learned about sulfur. Sulfur is a very light powder which is a non-metal and it floats on water. So if anything clings to sulfur, along with sulfur, it floats on water. Now coming to ores, there are sulfide ores. Metals are heavy, but sulfur is light. So sulfide ores are also light. When they are light, they don't sink into water, they float on water. So what we have to do is, after washing this ore, we have to crush the ore into fine powder. Crush the ore into fine powder and put this fine powder into a froth flotation tank. Froth flotation tank. This is a froth flotation tank. What we have to do is, we have to take a stator through which you have to pass air. You have to take water into the tank and crushed ore also should be put into the tank, and we have to add fine oil to the tank. So this is water. In this you have to put crushed ore, add fine oil and pass air. Whenever air is passed into water, we get bubbles. When air enters into liquid or air escapes from a liquid, air or any gas comes out of a liquid also, we get bubbles. We get bubbles when gases enter into liquids or gases come out of liquids. So you get lot of foam, that is only called as flow. You get lot of lather when you pass air like that. To increase the difference in the densities, we add fine oil. We know that oils also float on water because oils are less denser than water. Then what happens is, when you put this crushed ore into this tank, already sulfide ores are lighter, we discussed. And due to this addition of fine oil and passing air, it causes lot of foam, lather. So due to that, this air particle, this ore particles raise to the top surface of the tank. Being light, they occupy the top surface of the tank, and heavy particles like mud, rocks and all, they all settle to the bottom of the tank. So by making use of this density difference and air fine oil, we can separate sulfide ore from impurities. Impurities settle to the bottom of the tank, whereas sulfide ore raises to the top surface. And with the help of ladles are like